This is a short video about the CEREGO program and how we're going to be using it in this class. I had asked everybody to create an account, and if you go to the CEREGO.com and log in, you should have something like this that says good morning, whatever your name is. And if you scroll down, there should be a course down at the bottom somewhere. And if you click on that, it'll take you to it. Now, because I've already completed this course and tested it out, this isn't exactly what you'll see. You will see something that is much more like this, where you have some content and you have a little next button. The idea is to read through the content, make sure you're taking note of everything that's on here, right? You've probably all heard of Bloom's taxonomy before. There are 6 levels, going from simplest to most complex. And when you're done and you feel like you understand this, click on the next button. Then it's going to go into more detail about a couple of the levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Make sure that you scroll through if you have to see all the content. And then I have one more slide that goes over some things that you should think about when you're assessing at different levels of cognition. Then what it does is it will ask you some questions. And so like the first question is put the levels of cognition in order from simplest to complex. If you don't know it, it'll redirect you back to the material. But if you know it, it'll give you a question. Now, these are in the right order, and they will be scrambled, and you're just supposed to see if you can put them in order based on memory. The idea here is to not take notes about things, because if you're looking at something, right, that's written down on a piece of paper, that kind of defeats the point of getting it in your head. So don't use notes. Just try to answer the questions as best you can. If you know it, great. If you don't know it, it'll go back. And as you go through this, you're really trying to get an assessment of what is in your head and how well is it in your head. Now you submit, it gets it right, it takes you to the next one. So this first whole section is putting these things in order. Then I'll ask you a few more questions, and then it'll go on to some additional material. That's all of the preview that I'm going to do right now, but it should take people probably a half hour, 45 minutes if you're really studying hard and trying to remember everything and going through the questions. Once you're done, it will give you a little kind of overview of where you're at. Now, this can be gotten to, and let me go back to this, by clicking on this little button here, or in the drop-down menu here. If you go back to your dashboard, there's the knowledge bank, and that's how you can access the content that you've studied so far. Now if I click on this, it gives me a little graph. Now because I did this a couple days ago, it says that all this material needs review. The idea behind this program is that memories become much stronger and more resilient if you practice over time, not all at once. Cramming doesn't really work if you want things to stick. You have to use what's called distributed practice, where you study it for a short time, test yourself, and then let some time go by, and then study and test yourself again. And what that's doing, it's creating stronger memories, more accessible memories, things that we're going to talk about on Monday actually. Now if I look at this content, right, it says that my set score right now is 0.08. What I want to be at is 1. If I click on this, it breaks out into some major content, and I can actually click on each one of these to look at individual questions. Now that section is made up of a whole bunch of questions, and each one that I look at, I can see which question it is. And if I want to see the answer, I can look at the answer. This is a great way to review the questions. Now, it doesn't necessarily help your total understanding if you just start memorizing the answers to each question. Make sure that you're understanding why the answer is what it is. And then once you're done with this, you can just give it a rest, and you'll get a little email reminder. If you sign up for the app, it'll ding your phone and say, hey, it's time to review. And once you're done, all this stuff will be up in this good for now section. And as time goes by, it sinks slower and slower, because that's how memories work. Now, there are other options down below that you can play with about what are the things that you saw last. Well, I saw all these at the same time back on the 19th. These are all the things that I need to look at. This is the difficulty of all the items. This is how much time I spent studying each one of these items. Not a lot, because I wrote it, I kind of knew the answers. Different for you, but it's information that is useful if you're trying to figure out how much time am I actually spending studying. That's usually something we overestimate by quite a bit. Here's a whole bunch of questions that are just right, breaking down all the different questions and how much time I spend on them. And then there's just some general overall view. Now, the goal here that I'm going to set is level 3, and that's where I'll want you to be by the end of the semester. Okay, so this is something that's going to keep coming up, and I'll want you to be at level 3. That if we're saying how does that equate to A's, B's, and C's, this would be a level 3, or I should say equivalent to about a low A. This is a higher A. If anyone wants to go all the way to level 5, that would guarantee you to get that rating of 10 again, which means that you have access to all this information, and I would be fine with you talking about it, teaching it, giving a little presentation about it in class. But that's it. Again, we will be using this for other material as well, validity and reliability. But for right now, we're just going to try it out with Bloom's taxonomy. So give it a go. I want you to kind of go over the quiz at least twice, depending on how the schedule falls out for you, how quickly you answer before Monday. And then I want to know from you what you think about it initially, and then we'll talk about it again later on. But that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.